It's my favorite kind of day. One when we can talk about the Cybertruck. Some of you may hate it, but I am personally a big fan and excited to see how the rollout is going to go, given so many people have already discredited the Cybertruck and said, yeah, this thing is way too early. I'm not sure if Tesla's actually going to make them or if they can deliver on the pricing and the specs promised. Knowing that the Model Y is way ahead of schedule, I want Tesla to crush those stigmas, crush those stereotypes, and actually deliver the vehicle on time at the price promised. Who knows, maybe even earlier or cheaper. But if you have to know something about today's news, here's the thing to remember. We've got delivery times changed from originally, which depending on which Cybertruck you're interested in, kind of good, kind of bad, but overall I think is very promising and should excite you, which I'll get into in a minute. But here are the delivery changes. Originally, Tesla was promising the cheaper Cybertrucks were actually going to come first, which does not normally line up with how they unveil products in the past. Typically, they would start out with the longer range and performance models and then work their way down to standard range, most likely because the profit margin is a lot lower on the cheaper versions of the car. And after the event happened, they said that the triple motor version, the one with the 500-mile range for only 70 grand, would be coming out in 3 years, not 2, whereas the dual motor and the single motor versions, those would be coming out at the end of 2021. Of course, 2 years away. But they've since updated that, most likely due to the demand of the triple motor version they are now seeing. Tesla has said that they're seeing around 40% of the reservations people are making for the triple motor version and another 40% for the dual motor version. So they've actually accelerated that timeline and have now said that the dual motor and triple motor version will be coming out at the end of 2021, and then the single motor, the $40,000 version, that will be coming out 3 years from now at the end of 2022, which is an insane amount of time in the tech world. A lot can change. I'm sure some of this design may change by the time it actually comes out, but there's multiple ways you can look at this updated delivery time thing. I think there's a pessimistic viewpoint and an optimistic viewpoint. Now, I am biased towards Tesla, so let's just go ahead. Let's start with the pessimistic viewpoint, okay? The pessimist inside of me says, well, they're delaying the single motor version a year because it turns out they're actually not quite confident they can get the Cybertruck to that $40,000 starting price. Tesla has struggled in the past with actually delivering their vehicles at the price point advertised, similar to the Model 3 saying that it would start at $35,000, which it technically does, but not through the website. You have to call in and specifically ask for that version, and they strip out a lot of features. That could end up happening with the Cybertruck here, and them delaying that single motor version another year maybe showcases that it might end up costing a little bit more than they originally promised it was going to cost, and given they want to prioritize higher profit margins, that's why they're going to be starting with the dual and triple motor versions. It's very easy to take the low road and say, yep, this is bad news. Cybertruck is already going to start letting down on Tesla's promises. But here's why I think this is actually a good news situation and why you should be excited for the fact that the triple motor is coming out a year earlier than expected. This proves that Tesla is not relying on some type of technology that's not quite figured out yet for a 500-mile range EV. It makes perfect sense to me that seeing that 80% of the Cybertruck reservations are for the dual and triple motor version, probably because people know EVs are not going to be that great at towing things, and that's going to drastically affect the range. Maybe I'll do a separate video on that later, but a lot of people are opting for that 500-mile range because they know when they tow things, that's probably going to get nearly cut in half and have to charge the Cybertruck a lot more frequently with those higher payloads. So once your company sees that there is a large majority of people that are happily going to be willing to spend $70,000 on your new EV, then I think it makes sense to prioritize that. And one of the more impressive things about the Cybertruck, aside from that ambitious $40,000 starting price, I would say is actually that 500-mile range, because currently sedan, SUV, pickup truck, let alone all of those, the Cybertruck is the best dollar per range EV ever announced to this day. Until someone tops that, there is no EV out there that can get you 500 miles on a single charge for only $70,000. That has not been promised by any other car in Tesla's lineup or by Rivian or by Ford or anybody else. So that's a really impressive statistic given the $10,000 more expensive Model S. The cheapest one is now long range. They've stopped doing standard range for the Model S. That one gets you 373 miles, again for $80,000. So the fact that you're getting a Cybertruck, which can still do 0 to 60 in under 3 seconds, plus sit 6 people, have a huge bed in the back, have a huge payload and a pretty sizable towing capacity, and get you 500 miles of range on one charge. A lot of people were saying that the reason the triple motor version was not coming out for another 3 years was because it was going to rely on some new generation of battery battery tech, which it might. Not saying this disqualifies that, but it kind of puts to rest a lot of people's concerns were that, well, they're just hoping they'll hit 500 miles in the next 3 years, and they're not exactly sure how they're going to hit 500, but they just hope they will somehow. The fact that they're willing to push that up another year, mostly because I think of the demand, most people reserving the Cybertruck, wanting the dual or triple motor setup, showcases that no, the battery tech is ready. Whether or not it will be somewhere between a 100 and 200 kilowatt hour battery in that version, we don't know for sure, but it proves that Tesla is serious about that impressive range that can beat that of many different gas cars. And with that ambitious price point, you know, I know the Roadster goes 600 miles, but it's also $200,000. It can sit 2 people comfortably. You know, it's a 2-door. The fact that this is a 4-door means that if you're not really that big into sedans and you basically just want an electric vehicle that can sit a lot of people comfortably and go on good road trips, the Cybertruck might end up being a great deal for those who don't even need a bed or something to tow stuff with. They just want a car that can go great distances and be a lot cheaper to maintain. So in that sense, while it is kind of a bummer that Tesla's going with the traditional rollout of the expensive versions first, followed by the cheaper version later, I find it much more encouraging knowing that Tesla is serious about a 500-mile EV at $70,000 that's coming out in just about 2 years. That's insanely ambitious, and that proves that they're not scared to move up that timeline. You know, if there was some type of holdup behind the scenes and they didn't think they could deliver on their promises, they could have just delayed the single motor another year and just mentioned that. Okay, so the 250-mile range version, yeah, that's actually also going to be delayed until 2022. So the only Cybertruck we'll start with is the dual motor version. That's coming in 2 years. The rest you gotta wait for. No, that's not what they did. I imagine that the single motor version is probably just delayed because they know that it's not a version that's getting heavily reserved. Less than 20% of the reservations are for that single motor, and delaying that probably has more to do with the shortage of batteries Tesla is going to have when manufacturing the Model 3, the Model Y, and the Cybertruck. These require a lot of individual cells, especially that 500-mile range version, which, again, we're not sure what the kilowatt hour rating is, but they're probably just saying, you know, the $40,000 Cybertruck is probably just going to eat into our sales of the Model 3 and the Model Y, which both of them, on the website at least, start at around $40,000, and the Model 3 with its range of $250, and the Model Y with its range of $230, but that may change in time. Most people are going to say, well, heck, if I can sit 6 people in the Cybertruck and also have a really cool looking car, I'm just going to wait for the Cybertruck. So them delaying it till the end of 2022 probably just helps the sales of the Model 3 and the Model Y at the end of the day. And since the dual motor and triple motor are more expensive, they can have higher profit margins on those. And at the end of the day, that's what more people are reserving in the first place. So Tesla delaying a Cybertruck with 250 miles of range, I think showcases that it's not a problem of technology limitations. They're not scared of not being able to hit that extreme speed and that extreme performance. They're just saying, we want to focus on the cars with a higher profit margin first, given most people want those. Anywho, you think this is bad news for the Cybertruck or good news? Let me know your opinion on it. I would love to hear more. And thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you have an excellent day. Take care.